So thank you so much for your participation in the conference, and good to see you. I do want you to know that our general sessions are being videotaped, and they will be on a podcast on the website probably next week. So, and then I will ask from yesterday all of the presenters to provide their slides. So with that, I'd like to call us to order for really the biggest day of the conference, starting with this marquee panel. Then we'll go into the breakout sessions, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after the panel. So first of all, I again want to thank the Alabama Community College system for this outstanding conference. Let's give them a round of applause. This, what we call the Chancellor's panel, is really the opportunity to give the meta message, or the message of economic development, particularly on this one in the Gulf region, the relationship of technical education to the economic development of the Gulf region. And it's my pleasure to introduce the Chancellor, who will then introduce the panelists. His biography, which is actually on the Alabama Community College website, starts out with that he was born in Wisconsin. So being from Minnesota, we're glad that you have those upper Midwest roots. He was educated in Tennessee, where he got his bachelor and master's, and that was at the Tennessee Tech University. And then he has a doctorate in counseling, a PhD from the University of Alabama. He has been a faculty member and had all the requisite faculty or administrative posts that really gave him the ability to understand higher ed from the inside. And I could certainly get the feel of that working with the Alabama system and planning this conference. His areas of focus have been accreditation, strategic planning, and curriculum development, budget planning, development in terms of economic development, enrollment management, and many other administrative responsibilities. He's an educational leader who places a high value on participatory governance and team-based leadership, a foundational philosophy he sees as essential in his role as the Chancellor. He believes in strong community college relationships with the community as paramount to the health of the system's institutions and critical to the economies of their local communities. He has worked with many of the state's workforce partners and believes the Alabama Community College system holds the key to the state's workforce needs. A self-described collaborator, Dr. Heinrich is committed to developing strategies that will unite the system in a common goal to improve the state's economy by providing a well-educated and highly skilled workforce. Chancellor Heinrich.
Good morning and welcome to this morning's panel. Hope all of you had a good evening last night. Maybe not that good, but good enough to show up this morning. And I hope that you took my lead last night and spent a lot of money. Did you all spend a lot of money last night? Great, great. Well, it is my pleasure to take just a moment or two and introduce this panel's moderator. I referenced him last night, but I'd like to say a bit more about Dr. Tim Alford this morning, who will then come and introduce the panel and kick things off. Dr. Alford is currently the Chief Workforce Officer for the Alabama Community College system, but his career has been very lengthy and rich in every possible way. He has served both in government, education, and workforce, and let me just touch on a few of the things that he has done. In fact, Tim, as I went through your bio, there were things I didn't even know you had done, so it's again very impressive. He served as mayor of Enterprise, Alabama, which was an interesting piece. He has been a teacher, a principal, an assistant principal, an assistant superintendent, a superintendent, and a dean of development, and more. I guess when you've lived as long as we have, it sort of sounds like we can't keep a job or hold a job in any event. He really has done it all, and he has been absolutely invaluable to the system. He has brought a level of expertise to the system and to me personally that is second to none. So please help me welcome our moderator, Dr. Tim Alford.
Thank you, Chancellor. As I always say, I have been run out of several professions, and so many that I am now recycling on those. But as co-chair of the conference, I do want to say good morning and welcome again to the Redneck Riviera, where the weather is beautiful and the Gulf is emerald green 362 days a year. You know, for our friends above the Mason-Dixon line, we debated when we had a conference call about this panel whether we would need an interpreter with all these South Alabama draws in force here. And as was said, our Chancellor, who's originally from Wisconsin, said that I should just advise those of you that fit that category to listen more slowly. So if you would please do that. Before I get into the introductions, I do feel compelled to give a quick lesson in Southern lexicography, because I heard a guy yesterday as he was registering who said to the ladies at the registration desk, I think he was flirting with them a bit, that he could speak Southern because he had been South in the military when he was younger, and that he not only knew how to say y'all, but he also knew about the plural of y'all, y'allses. But this is an education conference, so I have to tell you that y'allses is not the plural of y'all. Y'allses is plural possessive, as in, are y'allses microphones on? If not, please take care of that. And one other tip along the same lines, some of you, based on a conversation my wife and I heard last night in the lounge, we were there just for the music, of course, do you know what a yontu is? Some of our northern friends may not be aware of that, but to enhance your conference experience, you need to realize what that is, because the conversation I heard was, let's go to the floor of Bampa. You want to? Hell yeah. So if you get a "yont to," that is the appropriate response. Hell yeah. Dr. Lavender, I'm not going to call any names, wouldn't be appropriate. But those people, I believe, were employed by an unnamed community college in Gadsden, Alabama. At any rate, as you can tell, a lot of my true stories are not true, but it is true that we have an exceptional panel this morning to kick our day's activities off. We have, you've met the Chancellor already, we have Ed Castile, who was appointed Deputy Secretary of the Department of Commerce for Workforce Programs just recently in July, but Mr. Castile continues to serve as Director of the award-winning Alabama Industrial Development Training, AIDT, a position he has held since August of 1993. He's a former director of the Tennessee Industrial Training Service, so we've stolen him from Tennessee for all of those in the audience, and we are glad we did. He earned his Master's of Vocational Technical Education and Bachelor of Science in Industrial Studies Education degree from Middle Tennessee State University. AIDT, as the people in the room from Alabama know, has been a national award winner for year after year after year, often named as the #1 program for new and expanding industries. Most recently, Site Selection Magazine chose Alabama as the #1 state in the Union for Economic Development, and certainly AIDT was a big part of that. We also have Josh Laney, who is very ably substitute for Philip Cleveland, because there was a State Board of Education meeting called today in Montgomery that kept Philip away, and due to the recent announcement of our superintendent's retirement, I think we all understand the necessity of his being there. Josh serves as the Assistant Director for Workforce Development for the Alabama State Department of Education and supports local school system efforts to align the career technical training they provide students with the workforce development needs in their area and throughout the state. His prior experience began as an undergraduate when he was working with the Alabama Science in Motion program at the University of Alabama, Auburn, in the Phoenix City schools. I'll just check and see if you're listening. He was a science teacher and department chair, and has held various positions of leadership in that school district. He holds a bachelor's degree from Auburn in science education, a master's degree from Troy University in education leadership, and an ed specialist degree from Troy in ed leadership. We're also very pleased to have with us Laura Davis Chandler. In April 2010, Laura Chandler became the executive director for Southwest Alabama Workforce Development Council, known by its acronym SAWDC, a nonprofit organization formed in May 2008 with the mission to develop strategic partnerships which attract, educate, and train students and workers to better meet the employer needs and foster economic growth in a global marketplace. Prior to joining SAWDC, she held the position of President and Chief Executive Officer of the Gulf Coast Renaissance Corporation, which was a private nonprofit that formed in the wake of Hurricane Katrina and response to that, particularly as it related to housing. She has received awards from Fannie Mae for her work in the aftermath of the Katrina debacle, and her team won the 2006 Team Integration Award in recognition of that work. She holds a master's in city and regional planning with a concentration in land development from the Georgia Institute of Technology and a BS in business administration. And I didn't really select this panel from Auburn University. So we're glad to have all of this panel here, and there have been many recurring themes thus far in this conference, and I think none have been more prominent than partnership and collaboration, and we will continue with that theme this morning as you hear something about how some of the partners in our workforce development system, not just the community college, but the system as a whole, operate. We would like to have had even several more panelists, but time dictates that we limit it, but we will say more about some of our partners as we close. I'm going to begin with Laura and let her tell us about SAWDC and how the partnership began and how the organization has evolved and its current goals and activities and how it relates to the various partners in the workforce system.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alford. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the panel. I do want to say my undergrad was from Auburn, and my master's was from Georgia Tech, and I come from a very Alabama family, and so my dad told me when I got my master's, he said, I'm very proud of you, but you successfully went to the two schools I hate the most. So, just to talk a little bit about SAWDC, Southwest Alabama Workforce Development Council, we were established in 2008, industry-led initiative. There were a lot of, there were some major concerns. There were some expansions on the horizon, new industry coming into the area, and there was a major concern that we were not going to be able to meet the needs of industry as it related to a qualified workforce. It was formed industry-led again, and there were a lot of things going on at the state level, and I won't go into all of those details, but it really was sort of a coming together of a state structuring of regional workforce councils. We're now codified as part of the Department of Commerce, one of 10 regional workforce councils in the state. Our organization covers 8 counties in Southwest Alabama. If many of you know sort of the verbiage on a national level, you might consider us a workforce intermediary. We are considered, our Our organization's vision is a comprehensive, integrated workforce development system, and the way that we do that is through strategic partnerships. So we're a broker of sorts. We work with our industry through a very sophisticated industry cluster framework. Do all of you know that language, industry cluster? In other words, industry partnership or workforce partnership. It's sector-based strategies. And in doing so, it's really allowed us to better understand industry needs and ultimately accomplish the task of aligning resources to better meet those needs at the regional level. I think really the whole creation of the regional workforce council structure in the state was really led by the fact that these aren't decisions that should be made in Montgomery. These are decisions that really need to be made at the regional level. So our organization, we have a board of 18, a council of 30 plus employers, representing about 60,000 employees in our region. We have our targeted industries are aviation and maritime, industrial construction, and manufacturing, as well as healthcare. So we have our industry cluster framework really drives the work that we do. We actually consider ourselves to have 3 lines of business, and that's engaging our industry clusters. In doing so, we work to influence the system of education and training. Our community colleges obviously are key to that. We consider the community colleges a key partner in delivering a qualified workforce. And finally, our third line of business is inspiring the supply of future workers. So at the end of the day, our customer is our employers. And if we're doing our job and we're doing it well, our customers should be saying 2 things: that they have a system for workforce development that they have access to, and advocates for their needs. And the big one is certainly a large qualified candidate pool. So.
Right. Say something real quickly about Worlds of Opportunity to this group.
Yeah, in the early days of the organization was, again, established in 2008. Really, the first year and a half was a grassroots effort to really engage the region, get buy-in. And one of the ways that we were able to accomplish that was through an industry-driven effort called Worlds of Opportunity. If you haven't heard of this before, the event, I don't even like to call it an event because it really is a year-round effort. It's a partnership with industry and the school systems throughout the 8-county region. It is a 2-day hands-on interactive career expo for 8th grade students. There's some folks in the room who've been there from the very beginning. Tom McNeil, with I'll go ahead and just recognize you with Alabama Power, who also was there in the early days. The Worlds of Opportunity was intended to really get in front of the students at this sort of pivotal time when they're about to embark on their high school experience. From a career awareness standpoint, many, as you know, and I'm sure when you were in high school, you weren't really aware of all the careers that were available. Well, this experience, the students come in and we host up to 10,000 8th grade students over a 2-day period, and we have 13 what we call worlds, which represent industries. So we have the world of healthcare, the world of construction, the world of manufacturing, and during that time, the 8th graders actually come and visit, have a 2-hour experience where they literally are having these hands-on interactive activities with someone in the industry who's talking to them about the opportunities that they could have once they graduate from high school. So we find, year after year as we, collect our measures, and we're very performance measure driven to ensure that what we're doing is effective and really moving the needle. But every year we see the stories, even the anecdotal stories, are pretty incredible. And one thing, just in the Mobile County Public School System, the one thing that we've seen since the program has started is that the enrollment in the career tech programs has increased 4-fold. So, which is a huge, huge moving of the needle for sure. So,
great, thanks. Yeah. Ed, how about telling us about your experiences in the economic development, recruitment, particularly as it relates to some of the industries here on the Gulf Coast, and your role in that, and what's going on with companies like Castile and Airbus as AIDT.
Sure. I do want, though, to tell all of you, if you get a chance to talk with Laura after our panel in particular, thanks. Okay. If you get a chance to talk to Laura, we're very proud of the region that she is. And she is the region with a lot of partners, of course. It is the ultimate collaboration of partnerships, and Laura's been the leader of that, and several other of our regions across the state are taking copious notes on a daily basis and trying to reinvent their regions to, when they grow up, to look a lot like Laura. So I hope if you get a chance to talk with her that you will. The Tim, the AIDT, as you know, is the job-specific industrial training incentive for the state of Alabama. Many of you from the southeastern states in particular have very competitive programs like ours. Louisiana Fast Start, Georgia Quick Start, both Carolinas have very aggressive programs, and we compete on a regular basis for a lot of projects, including the ones you mentioned. In the world of economic development, though, as you all know, you fit specifically into the development of this workforce. And I don't know where all the states that are represented, but we in the Southeast in particular, over the last 30 years, have enjoyed an in-migration of a lot of interesting and very advanced businesses, in particular in manufacturing and other technical jobs like that, healthcare and other things. And so as we've grown up in that and developed it, we, just like most, and when we started all this 30 years ago, we're fairly low-wage states. I happen to work in both Tennessee and Alabama. And we were very low-wage states. And today, if you look at the jobs that we have, we're nowhere near a low-wage state, I can assure you. And neither are most of the states from the Southeast. Because as we've developed these businesses and they have come here and been successful, then they have created a business climate and a career climate for your students, for students that are coming through both all the programs from their education experience, are very critical to the continued growth of that for sure. If all of you've heard this, and you've probably been involved in it, you know, the top three things that companies are concerned with when we do RFPs are workforce, all three levels. It's everything from the cost of it, to the skill level of it, to the retention of it, and on and on. And where you fit in that is that development. We at the AIDT are really more like workforce finishers. Our best sources are from the two-year colleges, for example. Most of the 65% of the jobs we have in Alabama need that middle skill group. Well, we get those from our college system, of course. We need kids to finish high school, and then we need them to at least get something beyond that. And all of you know, and I'm sure other speakers here will talk about the